Welcome back to another episode. I want to take you back to a memory I have where I was really just finishing up a little collection that I had released with a gallery, and I had been working with another stockist on a collection, and I'd been doing a ton of work, and I was working so hard, so hard. And I looked at this work. I was literally staring in this room full of my finished paintings, and I had this pit in my stomach as I was looking across the paintings that I had worked months on. I had worked so hard on these, trying to make them perfect, literally abandoning school pickup because I could not get done on time. Like I was working so hard. And when I looked across this room of finished paintings, I just didn't feel connected to them. I didn't feel that excited. I felt a bit of emptiness. I had this sort of numbness in my body of disappointment and kind of like, oh my gosh, this is not what I thought it was going to feel like. And I looked at the work and I was like, oh no, I am not loving this anymore. And really, for me, I felt this hollowness that I had never really felt before because all that work, all that time and energy, I was pushing and pushing and trying to make them so good. And then to come out of it and feeling like I just didn't really love these. And I really started going, do I love painting? Is this it? The numbness felt like, is this it? The destination that I've been waiting and pushing for to arrive at. But I remember thinking, this can't be it. Because when I think of the beginning feeling of when I started painting, I was so excited. I felt like my heart was exploding with excitement. Like I had never found so much emotional release. Like I felt like I personally was able to pour myself into my artwork. And I really felt like in the beginning, there was so much excitement because nobody was telling me what to do, what it should look like, what it was supposed to be. I was just pouring my heart and soul into it. And I would lose hours into my painting without noticing. And I actually didn't need to be good, and I wasn't good. But I just had to paint. I just had to express myself. And I really just had a excitement that was very much rooted in, I have to do this. I love this. And I think that it just goes to show there's a point where we probably fall in love with painting. Maybe you've had that experience too, but I truly felt like I was falling in love with painting in a way that I had never experienced before. And it felt like true love, like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. And I remember falling in love with color and texture. And I remember painting this blue painting that just literally just poured out of me. And it was expressive marks I had never made before. And I hadn't done any overthinking of it. I just literally picked up a color, went all in on it, and just expressed myself. And I had this really big sigh of relief and completion. And like, yeah, I love that. And then I was trying so hard that I kind of forgot why I started in the first place. I kind of took it more seriously, and every stroke, every line I made, every surface had to be perfect. It had to be a performance. I think what was happening there is there was this drift, this slow disconnect that started happening where I started to lose that real direct thread that was connected between my hand and my heart. That was really when I first started to notice that I was actually painting for someone else. People that I was painting for had taken over my point of view for painting, and what a good painting should be like. I was probably scrolling way too much on Instagram, quite frankly. I was probably listening to the people who said, yes, we can help you sell this. Keep doing more of them. So for me, it was a very noisy place in my head. Literally, the outside noise was just filling me up with thoughts. I was losing track of trusting my gut because, again, I had worked so hard to even get to that point that I thought, well, this is what probably a good painting was. But it really was missing massive parts of me. It was so loud in my head that I couldn't actually listen to my own voice of what I was really being pulled to do. I couldn't even hear it. So what looked perfect on the outside, because these were actually paintings that I was selling, it felt numb on the inside. I didn't feel really super satisfied in the way that I thought I would when I first started painting. Because again, I think I felt more excitement in the beginning when I was painting, listening to no one, than when I started actually painting for success. I put that in air quotes. If you're listening to the audio version, you can watch this on YouTube. But I definitely had this numbness inside of me that felt like I was this shell of myself. And I realized that this technique that I had perfected, it really became a wall between me and my heart. Like it was literally a bit of a barrier. And this was really that dangerous moment where I started losing my art, my soul, by trying to make it good. And I say good again in quotes because good by whose standards? I was trying to perfect the technique. I was trying to make perfect lines. I was trying to make, the colors solid and perfect. And instead of actually being called more from my heart. And in the end, these paintings were too complicated and too busy for what I actually wanted. They were really very much brighter, louder, and not really representing this quieter, calmer side of myself that I hadn't yet figured out how to express. And so there was all this noise, and the paintings kind of represented the noise, funny enough, that was actually happening in my outside world. And I think what I was afraid of is if I actually slowed down enough and followed my heart, that there would be serious consequences, and then maybe I wouldn't have success in painting. Maybe I wouldn't be able to sell because it looked like I was beginning to have success. It looked like I was actually getting a little bit better with my paintings from a, let's make a perfect painting point of view. But in the end, I just didn't feel that satisfied. And so right after that, there was this moment in time where I was like, I just want to paint something for me. I wanted to literally stop everything and just paint a little series for me. No one else, no gallery in mind, no one in mind but me, like something that I wanted to look at, do it for myself. This was the Balance series. The Balance series is one of my most exciting series that I personally loved, and I still love to this day. And I think that represents the beginning of something deeper that I was uncovering. I had this feeling of wanting balance in my life. I had a lot of chaotic noise on the outside with the gallery input, if you call it input. I'll say that gently. They mean well. They're like, we can sell this, do more. But there's so much outside noise. I had a lot of craziness with small kids, running them to things. My daughter was in gymnastics, and there was so much activity with the kids. I didn't have a moment to myself. There was so much chaos in some of that work. I just felt chaotic. The work looked chaotic. And so I craved this balance. I just want the feeling of balance. So I'm going to pour into that. I'm going to pour into wanting to paint for myself again, not anyone else. And I was really craving this simpler, calmer, a little more order vibe in my art. I was really wanting to not overthink anything related to what other people thought. And again, I just really wanted to look at what does balance actually feel like for me. And interestingly enough, again, I think that was a pivotal moment in my painting path and journey that really carved out the base of what my work is all about, because I still do refer to that series as almost like this foundational element to who I am. And so I just really poured into, what does this balance look like? What does that actually feel like? And I painted it until I started seeing that feeling come through in the art, through the different ways that I was approaching things. And interestingly enough, what's funny about this is they actually sold because I wasn't actually trying to perform for anyone. I was literally trying to satisfy myself, and I was having so much fun in that. And I was playful, I was vibrant again, I felt alive. And that really surprised me. I realized, yes, you still have this passion, this love for painting. You have this intense connection to it when you actually listen to yourself, when you're actually blocking the outside noise out. And also, what surprised me was people actually liked them, and they were one of the easiest series to sell up to that point. They were just so easy. In fact, I kind of wish that I had some of those from those original series that I would have kept, because again, they represented really that joyful feeling that I felt like when I first started painting that I kind of lost track of along the way. And so that balance series was a serious wake-up call for me personally. And I can't imagine how disconnected I would feel to my art. I probably would have quit, to be honest. I would have disconnected altogether, and I would have quit painting. Luckily for me, I listened to my gut. I leaned into, what do I want this to feel like? And that made a huge shift in my art practice from then on out, because I realized digging deeper into who I was the most important part. It wasn't about perfecting a technique. We try to make a good painting. We're so busy working on the technique and what that surface looks like on the outside. Maybe you're not missing anything except for you. Maybe you don't have to try so hard. Maybe you don't have to do all the things. Instead of worrying about, am I doing this right from a technical standpoint, it doesn't matter. In fact, I have seen some pretty bad compositional paintings. Technically, they were compositionally bad. I've seen them sell. People don't care about that, really. So I think the invitation here really is, we can have permission to stop trying so hard. And I don't think you're going to feel satisfied by just perfecting your technique. So start with what you want it to feel like. That's my invitation to you. The art always follows the feeling. And so what I learned from that point, and I believe that that series, that balance series that changed things for me, that really started happening in 2018. And from then on, I realized that art does follow the feeling. But if we don't know what the feeling is, that's where we get hung up and disconnected. So maybe you're not missing any techniques. Maybe you don't need to learn anything about techniques anymore. But maybe you're missing you, not your actual skill. Because funny enough, I'm way better now at my technique than I am when I was actually trying to perfect the technique. So your skills improve. But if you start with what you want to feel, the art follows the feeling. I really wish someone had told me that during my drift, so that I didn't feel so compelled to fall into this trap of trying to make a good painting. But I think that goes to show, like, I'm a good girl. I was trying to do the good thing, right? So instead of listening to my heart, that really did send me adrift. But I think what's interesting is when you actually express your heart, people fall in love with it. We just don't usually let them see it all because we don't take the time to even do that. So I just want you to know, if you're feeling that you've drifted and you had a love and you've lost it and you want to reconnect, to feel connected to your art, and your art feels a little off, maybe it's not your technique. Maybe you've just been trying too hard. Maybe you've just been trying to make it good and you're trying to do a good technical painting, but maybe you're just missing you. And I talk about this in detail in my free workshop, The Secret of Making Art That Finally Feels Like You. And it's where I walk through how to reconnect. And it's literally the exact process that I went through Finding My Balance series again and everything from then on out. And we talk about how to find that thread again between your feeling and your painting and what you're passionate about. And you can watch this for free. The link's below. So jump into that workshop. And even if you never take another course again, or you never follow another trend, promise me this: the next time you paint, start with what you want it to feel like, and the art will follow. I'll see you in the next episode.